Yo,
What's up, brother?
how you doing?
Fantastic. Oh my God, I want to talk to you for the longest time.
Man, I love what you're doing. I saw you pop up. Someone sent me you at the airport where you knew your rights and they just let you go. Yeah, I want to chat about a lot, but can you tell me about that? Because like, is it a loophole or people don't know that you just don't even have to listen to them in Canada?
People don't know. You guys have the same rights. Yours is constitutional. It's under, I think, the Privileges and Immunities Clause. That's what allows you to travel state to state and enter back into the country as a citizen. So they cannot deny you entry as a citizen. And the whole idea that they could forcibly test you as a requirement is completely bogus. And the idea that they could force you into a government quarantine facility is also bogus. Unless you actually are sick. So if you come home from your vacation and you got symptoms and they test you they test your temperature and you're sick, yeah, they can force you into quarantine. Otherwise, you simply say in Canada, I'm a citizen. It's a violation of Section 6 of my charter rights, which is freedom of movement.
Mm.
And it's a violation of 14.1 of the Quarantine Act, which is part of their emergency order, which states what they're allowed to do with you when it becomes testing. They're allowed to observe for symptoms. They're allowed to ask you questions. They're allowed to do any non-invasive testing, like take your temperature, but they can't shove something up your nose or down your throat. That's illegal. So as soon as you say that, they have to let you go. Now they give you these stupid fines up to $3,500 per person when you refuse. They've given out like hundreds of thousands now. I had a girl come through the airport and they told her they ran out of tickets because everybody's declining. Everybody, because they
Wow.
know now.
Wow. So that really showed a lot of people. So what is it? Because I read Trudeau, or however you say his name, on Twitter. He said, if you're sick, we can quarantine you. If you're not sick, you have to quarantine at home. So it's like you lose either. Is that the real rule that they're trying to
It's
enforce?
worse. It's worse. They want you now. They want you to pay $3,000 for 3 nights in a government-approved quarantine hotel. Come back from your trip. You need a COVID test before you come back. Then you need a COVID test at the airport. Then they put you on a bus, send you to this government hotel where you're isolated by yourself in the room. You're not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to go outside or do anything. They feed you meals from the Red Cross delivered in a U-Haul truck, and you wait there for a day to get your test result, and then you get a negative result, and they send you home to quarantine the rest of the 13 days, even though you've already got 2 negative tests
So
in the
you have
last 48 hours,
so
and then
you
they
have to
don't even
go.
refund your money.
So you have to go there even if you are negative because they need to hold you until you get your test back. This is like a conspiracy theory from 6 years ago. Like, dude, FEMA, Red Cross, and people are like, dude, shut up, bro. And like now they're doing it, and like so you have to go there even if you're negative because they don't know if you're
They
negative or
make you
positive.
go there until you get your negative result. And it takes a day to get the result when they could do a rapid test and get it in 10 minutes. But they do it because they're trying to force as many people to go there because they want travel to be so traumatic for Canadians. So when they announce their vaccine passport in the next couple of weeks, which they're already implementing in New York City, so it's not a conspiracy theory, that Canadians would jump at the opportunity. So that's why I made the video to show the Canadians you don't need a vaccine. You definitely don't need a vaccine passport. You have something called rights, which
Mm.
millions of people fought and died for. So use them.
Yeah, I got this. I'm gonna put up right here. This guy's Kerry Mullis. I don't know if you've seen some of his videos, but he invented the
Yeah, yeah.
PCR test. And I found the video of him talking about Fauci, and then I found another one where he was explaining his invention, and he said basically, you could find viruses, you zoom in on a molecule, but he said this was during the HIV, and they keep fact checking it, but it's what the inventor said. He said just because you have the virus and then you're sick, it doesn't mean the virus made you sick. So the PCR test is being used in a way that the inventor literally said wasn't how it was supposed to be used. And they say
100%.
fact check that's not true. And it's like, who's fact checking it? Somebody at USA Today who's making 50,000 a year, and some stupid scientist who's never invented anything. Like, who cares what they say?
Exactly. In Canada, they upped the cycle count on the test to over 40, which basically will give a false positive whether you had COVID 6 months ago, whether you got a flu shot, whether you got a COVID shot, etc. And they
Wow.
fucking they lost it on me last week when I created the Just Say No hashtag. And it's already I've seen it on 5 continents. I'm pretty sure that's what sparked the friggin' invasion at my house when they raided me with like 40 cops.
Yeah,
With
I'm gonna ask you about that in a second because I want to hear a follow up. But with the cycle thing, I've been learning about the PCR test. So when he invented it, he found a way to times two, and it's like incremental times 2, 4, 8, 16. It
Yeah.
doubles, doubles, doubles. So the more cycles you do, you're doubling, doubling, doubling. That's how he was able to zoom in, and that's what the PCR test is. So it does matter how many cycles it is, because he said
Big
you're like a Buddhist. You think like a Buddhist. If you zoom far enough, you find almost anything. So if you're doing 20 cycles, 40 cycles, 60 cycles, at a certain point, it doesn't even matter. So no one's even. I don't hear a single politician in America, left or right, talking about it. I'm guessing Canada's maybe the same way, but this is
just
the
as
biggest
bad.
thing that's spurring asymptomatic cases, more testing, more this, and and no one's talking about that it's being used that way. It's insane.
It's insane. All they're doing here, before they were talking about flatten the curve, which was about our hospitals. Remember that term that was everywhere and now just disappeared because they know people were smart enough to look at the hospital data and see that the hospitals are empty or no more full than any other year. So now all they worry about is cases, because it's easy. They ramp up the cycle count, then they ramp up forced testing. Now they're trying to test everyone at their jobs. They're trying to test school kids. So if you tested 10,000 people last week and 30,000 people this week, are cases going to go up? Gee, I wonder.
Yeah. And I was saying early on where I was like, if you the more you test, the more you find. And they said in America, I don't know how it is there, but if you die with COVID, you died from COVID, and not necessarily, it doesn't matter if it was a part of it or not, where it's like, if you figure out how many people have the common cold each year, it's millions, tens of millions. And then if you tested them crazy all the time and then waited till someone died, where it's like, they're not even trying to. And I think Elon Musk was one person who actually said this and was influential early on the Rogan. He was like, this is insane. He actually responded to one of my tweets. I was like I'm not usually like blown away, but I was like, that's kind of tight, because I've never even talked to him. But he's like, it would be helpful to distinguish died with COVID and died from COVID.
100%.
And I was like, yo, exactly. Like even like Trump didn't get that. And I was like, thank you, because it does, you're testing cycles, more and more asymptomatic. Like if you're zooming in really far and it's asymptomatic, I don't know, maybe you're okay. Maybe you just have like a small part.
Asymptomatic is another word for healthy. And what you said about the with and from is ridiculous. You had a guy in Florida that tested positive for COVID and then died in a motorcycle accident, and they called him a COVID death. Every COVID death chart has a little asterisk on it. And when you look at what the asterisk is in the legend, it says it includes deaths with COVID. And this is the first time in history they've ever done that. And it even goes further. In Canada, I know somebody whose husband died of a heart attack, and they wrote COVID death. Her insurance company didn't want to cover the life insurance because they said you have to get a new policy to cover COVID because it was a brand new cause of death. And now we have the same thing with the vaccines. Certain insurance companies are not covering you if you're vaccinated with the mRNA shots because they're considered experimental because they haven't passed trial and they haven't got a thing. And that's another key, because they can only use these vaccines under emergency conditions now, which means they're obviously not going to end the emergency anytime soon, or they'll lose the ability to forcibly inject you.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
With the cop thing, because I saw that where it was like 30 cops. It was like a movie, So what happened there? Like, why were they there, and what was the follow up? Because I was like, damn, like here it was in the middle. It was like you had cops all over the place, but you were talking big shit. I was like, yo, I love that he's just talking shit to everybody. That's
well, yeah, because fuck, man, I knew they had no right to be there. First of all, in order to come on your property and arrest you, they need a warrant to come on your property and a warrant to arrest you. I knew they had neither. How did I know? I was just coming home from the gym around midnight, and I got pulled over on the way home by OPP, which is the equivalent of your state police. 3 cruisers for nothing. They said it was an identity check. Okay. They checked my stuff. They came back. They were very nice. They said, you're fine. Nothing, no problems. Go ahead. So I left. I went home. I live on 5 acres in a rural area. So I have a gate, and I have to park outside the gate and open it manually. So I'm parked outside my gate, and I'm about to get out and open it. An unidentified person without a uniform, without a badge or anything, comes and shines a flashlight. So I thought it was one of my neighbors or something. So I rolled down the window, and my car was off at this point. And he's like, this is Detective so-and-so, get out of the car, you're under arrest. Doesn't tell me what I'm under arrest for. I know I don't have a warrant because I just got pulled over 10 minutes ago, and they would have told me and arrested me then. So it was literally a fucking political Gestapo hit job in the middle of the night, like 1 a.m, coming to my house to basically kidnap me. So I said, there's no goddamn way I'm getting out of the car, and there's no way you have me under arrest, so don't even think about it. And he tried to reach through the window and grab me, so I jumped out of the car on the other side to try to run on my property, and that's when I noticed there was like a swarm. And they tried to grab me from there, so I threw them off, jumped back in the car, closed both doors, but the window's down, so this asshole on the other side's unlocking it, and it's like a friggin' horror movie. I'm going from side to side trying to close the doors as they're trying to get to me. So I got like 2 seconds, I jumped into the back seat because it was a 2-door, And they had a lot more trouble getting them, and that's when I started the live. And then you all saw what happened from there. They had about 20 cruisers and 30 to 40 cops. They blocked off a major four-way intersection to stop people from getting there, and then they blocked off the whole other side of the street to completely isolate my property, which has about 400 feet of frontage. And they used about, like I said, about 15 to 20 cop cars and at least 30 to 40 police.
Dude,
and in the end, they had no standing. They made me sign a promise to appear, which I signed as duress. And they had to let me go.
Dude, you make me need to look over my rights because I know a little bit, but like you really know what you're talking about, which they probably would get a lot of people under, with all that pressure. Two things. Do they have guns? Do the police have guns in Canada?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah? Okay, that's kind of frightening then. And then second, what's the fallout from that? Like, do you have to go to court or what?
I have to go to court for the promise to appear, so I'm going to send a lawyer. I don't have to actually be there, but I'm getting ready to file a SIU Special Investigations Unit investigation, and I'm going to file a professional standards investigation because I'm going to want the names and badge numbers of every one of those cops because everybody knows this was a political hit job. It came straight from our mayor, John Tory, and from our premier, Doug Ford, which is the equivalent of your guys' governor. This did not come from law enforcement. So I'm going to hold them accountable. I'm going to bring it to the public, and I'm going to make sure they get thousands and thousands of phone calls from the public screaming for accountability because they're not just going to sweep this one under the rug. That's like probably the most glaring display of police misuse of force I've ever seen on video in the history of Canada.
And what did they say was the reason? Like, did they give you a reason?
Oh, that's the best part. That's the best friggin' part. They tried to say it's because I went into a grocery store and shopped without a mask. I haven't worn a mask on 4 continents in over 2 years. The police know I have a medical exemption. I have videos of me flying all over the world, not even wearing masks on the plane. So they know quite well I had a medical exemption. And also, if whatever they were trying to charge me with is called a summary offense in Canada, which means you can only be arrested for it on site at the time. They can't come for you after. It can come and give you a promise to appear after, but then they call you during the day, tell you they're coming, bring one police officer. He hands you like a FedEx or UPS package with your summons in it, shakes your hand and says, have a nice day. They don't show up at 1 o'clock in the morning. And the best part was, on the live, you saw I gave my address and everything. Dozens of Canadian patriots came by, swarmed through the roadblocks, and you've never seen cops run so fast in your life. It was hilarious.
So that was the reason they gave, like the official reason in their idea was like you went in a grocery store without a mask on?
Which is ridiculous because I do that every day on a daily basis. Our liquor store is a government-run store. It's called the LCBO. I go there every time I need to buy something for someone without a mask. I go everywhere without a mask. I don't wear a mask anywhere.
The government owns your liquor stores?
Yeah, of course. How do you think they make money?
Oh, I didn't know how it works.
And our liquor still costs twice as much as yours, even though it's sold by the government.
Well, that would make sense since when you can control it, you could mess with the prices. I love how you have fun with it because certain people, for me, they're like, aren't you afraid of doing that? I'm like, aren't you afraid of being a pussy? Like, aren't you afraid of
thank you.
happening? Like, at this point, I don't care because I'm the type where I'm like chill and zen. But after they did all this crazy slave stuff, I'm like, I'm not a slave. I'm not an animal. And it's not in my DNA to like back down. I just feel like I go Super Saiyan because I'm like, get away from me. So like, I love how you're not only doing it, but it seems like you're having fun where it's like, it's, I'm like, I'm not caving. So I might as well have a good time while I'm doing it and not.
Of
like,
course, brother. I got to friggin' poke them in the eye with a smile. That's why Just Say No is perfect because people have been dumbed down and manipulated for decades, conditioned not to be able to say no to so-called authority figures. And that's all they have to do is just say no. And that's why it caught on so bad, and that's why they're so pissed off. And I love pissing them off. You should have saw when I did the Santa Claus parade they tried to cancel our Santa Claus parade, which is our most coveted event of the year. So I called out Justin Blackface Pussy Boy Trudeau in a live speech and said, we're going to be doing it anyway, regardless of what you think. And December 20th, guess what? I pulled it off. I got the support of over 200 law enforcement officials that blocked off the longest street in North America, Yonge Street, from Yonge and Dundas Square, which is the biggest square in Canada, all the way to Yonge and St. Clair. And I had real floats. We had a professional Santa. We had a 500 toy giveaway for the kids. We did it right. And there was nothing they could do. You know why? Because we all came together and we said no. And I call that united non-compliance. And that's how we get out of this whole mess. If everybody was like you and me, think about it. Take off the mask right now. It's over. Open your business tomorrow. It's over. It's that simple. The only problem is, like you said, people suffer from a condition called "I'm a pussy."
Here too with politics, you know, because we had what a lot of people who were like more freedom. We had our guy in office for a while with Trump. Like I was talking, like I don't care if it's Trump, Bush, Obama. Like I, as a human being, as a man, like there's a certain line that I just don't cross, and I just won't do. Where everyone was kind of waiting, and that's what you know. The just say no. I'm like, just put your foot down because everyone thinks like, oh, I'm gonna do what they say, and they're gonna give it back. It reminds me of Lucy with the football with Charlie Brown that keeps pulling away. I'm like, how many times are you guys going to do this? Literally, you just have to say no. And I think you're an honorable person where like some people are like, maybe he got threatened, maybe this happened. I'm like, I would rather die a legend than live a pussy. So like one, I don't feel like I'm in that much problem, but also like this is not that bad. Like, you know, our ancestors had to like hunt for food and ride horses. Like we have to sit here and talk shit and get Uber Eats or something. Like it could be worse. But if
Exactly.
something bad happens, like whatever, I'm not living like a slave. I can't do it. I'd rather, you know, like stand up and take that risk than literally walk to work for 40 hours, like not being able to breathe, looking like a submissive, like sex slave dog to the government. I
Yep.
can't do it.
I won't do it. I'll never do it, and nobody should do it. It's that fucking simple. Anybody that puts a mask on their kids to bring them to school, I have absolutely zero respect for. Parents should take a bullet for their kid, and all they got to do is stand up to a principal or superintendent, and they're scared to do that. It's absolutely sickening what we see people doing with compliance. And everybody that says we're the ones that are prolonging this by not complying, it's the complete opposite because they have an agenda, they have an end game, and every time you comply with one step, they bring you closer to that agenda, and that agenda is the vaccine passport. Finally, a digital identity, digital currency, etc. But the vaccine passport's the one coming right now. So, and the best way to stop that is to stop people from taking the vaccine. And the best way to stop people from taking the vaccine is by getting them to ask questions like, hey, has it been FDA approved? No. Has it passed clinical trials? No. Is there any long-term safety or efficacy data? No. Then doctor, why are you recommending this to me? I don't know. And when people ask those kind of questions, they won't do it. In Canada, they just banned the AstraZeneca vaccine for anybody under 55.
Yeah, they're covering that up pretty heavily in the media here. We're not on that one. We have like the Pfizer and Moderna, but
Which
I'm
are even
looking
worse
at
because they're the
Europe and
mRNA
Canada
ones.
where how bad is that? If they're gonna like these people with no ethics and morals like are banning that, I'm thinking to myself, how bad is that one? Because like I know that Europe and Canada are not trying to ban vaccines. Like it must,
Yeah.
the data must fucking suck for them to do that.
For them to do that, they must have an adverse reaction rate so appalling, so glaringly disgusting that that's why they did it, because there's no other reason. And we have what? I think it's up to like almost 30 countries that have banned it.
Do you guys have any politicians there? Because like I know Doug Ford was kind of marketed. He seems like he's a flop like Boris Johnson, but they were marketed as like the Trumpy, like they're gonna
Oh,
you know stand for
bullshit.
freedom. And then Boris Johnson, it seemed like, and even here, like all the Republicans who are supposed to be pro freedom, they're saying, okay, we'll get back to normal, but we give 70% of these people the vaccine. And I'm thinking to myself, the more people you give it, it's gonna turn into like the mask thing where like now the population is like, well, we want them to get it. So it's like they half fight it, half don't, and no one's talking about what you were, where it's like psychological abuse to the kids, physical abuse. People are obese. Here we have a lot of opioids and suicides. Almost everybody's miserable. Anybody with comorbidities is getting hurt because they can't exercise. So it's a war on like fit people like us. Like anybody that's athletic or works out, it's like we're the enemy. And people that are like 300 pounds with 5 masks, I'm like, I'm sorry, but you're not that healthy. Like I'm not trying to be mean, but like you with the jab and me without one, I don't think you're healthier. I don't know on what planet they told you that. But is anybody going the full distance you see in politics there? Because here, nobody. They're just saying like, get the vax, and then maybe we'll stop the passport. Like that's the most we can get.
The only politician, and he's not even a politician, that's making any voice against this is Mr. Rob Carbone, and he's starting the Republican Party of Canada. It's going to be registered in about a couple months, and he's an absolute powerhouse. He's connected in the banking industry. He's well connected, all kinds of things, and he's 100% against these lockdowns, WHO, the UN in general. He's against all these agendas because he sees them for exactly what they are. They're control agendas, trying to ruin the country, trying to bring the country towards a communist-style Chinese dictatorship. It's that simple. When you're closing down small businesses, when you're trying to take over large businesses by giving them loans for percentage of ownership, when you're trying to force the population onto a vaccine so they can travel, work, congregate, and you strip them of all their rights, when you're trying to close down all the small businesses and put those people on universal basic income, I'm sorry, but that's the definition of communism on every level and stretch of the imagination.
How's Maxime Bernier? Is he doing anything or no? Because he seemed like he was kind of real, but I don't know.
Bro, he was excited that he got $100,000 for his campaign. What is he, running for school president? Like,
I know people were hyping him up, and he got such a low percentage. But is he going against the agenda or no? I don't know because I haven't been following.
He talks like he is, but he's really insignificant. He has no chance of winning. That's the problem. Like, it doesn't matter how good his platform was, even if it was good. It's okay. I'm not gonna say it's not the worst one out of everyone. There's people like NDP and Green Party, so I'm not gonna put him on that line. But
yeah,
he has no chance. Like
okay.
you need somebody that can beat Justin Trudeau. The Liberals get like $45 million, which in the States is a joke. That's not even like a state senator election. But in Canada, that's pretty much how much they get. The Conservatives get about 26 million, and then the rest of them don't even get 10 million between all the parties. So someone like Mr. Carbone can make big waves in this country, and he's going to get a lot of support because people's mistrust in the government's at an all-time high. And now they're about to lock our asses down again, which I've been warning people for weeks, and people think I'm crazy. Still, after I made prediction videos that have gone viral in like 20 countries in 7-8 languages, people are still like, oh, no, this time I think he's going to be wrong. No, people, you're going to get locked down. They already locked down Hamilton, Ontario. They just announced tonight, like an hour ago, that they locked down Vancouver, British Columbia. So you don't think they're going to lock down Toronto next? Yeah, good luck.
It's crazy. I mean, you're definitely one of the only standouts, really the only one I know from Canada that's going hard. And you're going like 50 times, like you're going hard enough for 100 people. So you're holding your own. What's it like there where like here, you know, I've been underwhelmed by the freedom fighters. You hear conservatives, First Amendment, Second Amendment, like America. Yeah, we have it more than other countries, but I feel like people were super soft during these lockdowns. And in Canada, I've always felt like the Conservative Party, I watched the debates, I always felt like they were way softer than the Trump conservatives. So I was like,
they're not conservatives.
Is there a big movement of people who are like not soft, or is like everybody super submissive there?
I wish I could tell you otherwise, but like, there's a reason Toronto has the longest lockdown in North America, and places like Texas and Florida are wide open. And it's because the people over there have balls and they have guns and they like freedom. And the people in Toronto like to be told what to do. Like, I made the joke 3 months ago that if the government said to stick something up your ass, it would save you from COVID, people would do it. And then the anal swab became a reality. And then I realized I got to watch what the hell I say because I'm giving them ideas. Because Canadians are pretty pathetic. I'm telling you right now, because I did a show called Block Talk with a guy named Ali K. He's a funny guy. And he wanted me to demonstrate mask-free shopping to show people how it's done. So first we went to Walmart, and we went outside, and we wanted to ask people why they were wearing the mask. And I got 3 answers. Some people are afraid of the virus. That's probably the least. Some people said so I got 4 answers. The pussy answer is number 4. Some people said they're afraid of getting kicked out of the store. They just don't want the confrontation. Understandable. Some people, this is the most annoying answer. They just want to follow the rules. So I asked those people, I'm like, how far will you go following the rules when you know they're a detriment to yourself, your family, and your future? Will you throw away your family's future? Will you throw away your family's life? Like, I don't know. How long will you follow the rules until you're like, hey, maybe this isn't such a good idea? But most of the people just go blank when you say that. And the last answer was, I'm wearing it because I'm polite for others. And that's the pussy answer, obviously. They're just wearing it because they're scared of confrontation. But we went in the store and everything was cool. They were more worried about the camera than that. The fact that we were shopping with mask-free, because he had a big camera and 3 guys walking around. But they were nice. Then we went to that store, Longo's. And Longo's is a Canadian upscale grocery store. And they're vehemently pro-mask. Like, you could walk into a Metro, another grocery store right next door. They won't even ask you about a mask. You could just walk in, do your shopping like a normal person. And if you walk into the Longo's like we did, you'll get swarmed by like 30 people, security. All the customers will start yelling. It's like you're walked in there with an AK-47 to rob the place. And I literally just asked them for a bottle of maple syrup. So they freaked out, and they finally brought me to the aisle just because they wanted to get me out of the store. So to be nice, I bought the actual Longo's brand. And then that's why the cops apparently came to my house, because I went to Longo's to buy a bottle of maple syrup and didn't wear a mask, which I don't wear a mask anywhere.
So Longo's is like the feds. Like you go into another place, they'll yell at you. You go there, it's real. They got the cops and shit.
Yeah, they did that all the time. That's why January 23rd, I brought a whole bunch of people downtown. Everyone that was at the protest, they made a new emergency order on top of the emergency order that made protesting illegal. So anyone that went to the protest and tried to speak would get arrested. So everyone was at the protest. I'm like, don't speak, you're going to get arrested. Let's just go for a walk. So everybody started walking through downtown's nicest neighborhood. And then I just decided to take a few hundred people mass-free shopping through a bunch of stores. And it caused some mayhem through the city.
Do they give fines to people who protest or arrest people? Because here you could
They
protest.
were at that point. They didn't from March 2020 all the way up until January. Then January, like I predicted, they went full out Nazi with the knockdowns, and then they put a state of emergency on top of the emergency order, which they said gave them the power to arrest anybody talking. And they made examples of some of the protest leaders, like they sent literally busloads of police there, and they just started roughing people up, arresting people in front of everybody, coordinated. They arrested me too. Don't get me wrong. I got arrested multiple times. I got arrested by the RCMP when I flew to the East Coast, which is like the Canadian FBI, because they knew I was going to do 2 speaking engagements on the East Coast. So when the plane landed, they didn't even let it go to the jetway. They stopped it on the runway, came with the friggin' the little stairs. 4 RCMP officers came. They handcuffed me and put a mask on me. So I tried to take it off, and then they put it back on.
Well, it's like nothing's going on, not nothing in Canada, because I've been to Canada. It's cool, but I'm just saying, like, you're such a standout in Canada that there's like no one even close at this point. Where I'm sure there's got to be some other people who disagree.
There's a lot of people.
As
There's a
far
lot
as
of people
you said,
doing
you're
stuff.
like at the top of the game, so I'm guessing they're all over that. Where in America we had the Trump the 6th event or whatever, which ended up just being like a honeypot trap. So like we had the
Big
feds
time.
after like MAGA grandmas and stuff. They even called me and I wasn't even there, just to like, probably because of this stuff. And they're like, oh, what do you know about it? And I was like, I wasn't even there. I wasn't even in this, like, so, but out there, you don't really have that much going on. So they're like, that guy, that's,
Yeah. I'm definitely the number one
scapegoat. If I ever
scapegoat.
go to Canada, I'm probably tracked just for talking to you.
Big time. I did a lot of shit that bothered them here. Like when they made the mask mandatory within a week, I created tens of thousands of very professional looking face mask exemption cards. And we gave them out to everyone in Canada, and we told everybody about the exemption. So there's a lot of people that do things without masks here. I try to, every time they come out with a restriction, I come out with a way around it. And I make a video and I show people. Every time. Because everything what they're doing is illegal. Everything they're doing relies on ignorance and compliance and fear. So as soon as you empower people with the knowledge, and then I demonstrate how to do it, they get the courage to do it themselves, and they realize the only consequence for standing up for themselves is retaining their freedom. And these are freedoms that millions of people fought and died for. And we have people afraid to literally take a friggin' piece of cloth off their face. Imagine our generation storming the beaches in World War II. Can you imagine that? Oh my goodness!
In my country, I get annoyed because like it's not as serious here. Like there are some bad elements, but like in the UK and Canada, you get arrested for protesting. You could protest in a liberal area of the United States, and they won't even arrest you. Like it's not that serious here. So people aren't appreciating it. Where we're in a better space because we have 50 states, different stuff going on. And I feel like even the conservative side, obviously the liberal side, they're like too masks. I don't know, they love Dr. Fauci or something. But on the right, I thought people were tougher. Where I've been trying to rally people up, and they think I'm mean. But I'm like, what are you guys doing? Like we got to go harder because everyone's like, oh, this is like, and I'm like, even Texas is definitely way better. But I was just in Dallas, which is like a major city. It's almost worse than California in the liberal areas because it's owned by all the major cities are run by liberals, and they run the show. And like the Marriotts and the Disneys and the airlines, that's all either federal or run by the corporations. So now you have, even in rural Texas, if you have to go to a Walmart, you're under their rules. So it depends like how many people listen and such. So we're slowly losing ground here, but I feel like people don't take it seriously enough. So I've been ramping that up and pointing to Canada and the UK and being like, we have this advantage in that sense. Do you think the police are nicer in Canada or no, or you just don't care?
Honestly, I really support the police. I tell everybody we need to back the police. Obviously, I want to file investigations against the crooked cops because there are bad cops and there are good cops, just like there's good people and bad people. But at the heart of it, We rely on the police. They are an integral part of the community. They have friends that are having businesses shut down. They have kids that are going to the same schools and suffering the same trauma. They do not want to enforce these emergency orders for the most part. And if you try to defund them, disarm them, disband, who do you think they're going to replace them with? They're going to bring in private military contractors from places like Bosnia that kill men, women, and children for fun, hate Americans, and have zero ties to the community. What a great idea. Like, people got to stop watching TV. People got to stop listening to the government. We got to change the perception. The perception coming from the TV is that there's a very deadly virus and you got to be scared of it and you got to do everything the government says or you're going to die, basically. And everything that they're doing for you is for your own safety and protection. If you can change people's perception, because once they're afraid, they're just paralyzed with fear. They're not going to do anything. And they're in that state of mind getting ready to be told what to do next. But if you can change their perception and let them know this is not about their safety, this is about controlling them, then instead of being afraid from the propaganda, it's going to get them angry. And when they're angry, they're going to be more willing to act. They're going to stand up. They're going to talk about it. They're going to ask questions. They're going to wake other people up. So that's the key. The key is to get it, because you can't get someone to stop watching TV. It's almost impossible. It's worse than heroin to these people. And they call it programming for a reason. And in Canada, our government pays $600 million to the news stations. So are they going to be impartial, or are they going to be telling you what the government wants? And 80% of the ad revenue is big pharma, just like in the States. So you're watching the news and you don't think they're going to tell you to listen to the government and take the vaccine, and every piece of health advice they give you is not going to make you healthy. It's like you said, they tell you to stay home, wear a mask, avoid people, don't go outside, don't exercise, eat drive-through, and drink. Reality, don't wear a mask, go to the gym, get sunshine, interact with people, improve your immune system, improve your mood, improve your vibrational frequency, etc. But no, they don't want you to do that. They want you to wear a mask and rely on that. And that's why we got to change everyone's perceptions. Let them know this is about control, period.
In America, a lot of the freedom fighters are on the defense all the time because the leaders in politics are saying, like, we rushed the vaccine, we got you, now we're going to be free. And it's always like this, oh, we'll just play half-baked and it's okay. You can do the mask and we won't. But I kind of flipped the script because it was just common sense to me from the beginning. I was like, if you're doing mandatory lockdowns, there's all this negative economically, societally, physically. You can't go to gyms. The downsides I could list for 10 minutes. There's so many. But if you did mandatory workouts and you really wanted to force people, I don't agree with mandatory, but mandatory workouts 5 days a week, you save lives, won't have to shut down a single school. People get less fat, less diabetes, but a less fat population doesn't eat as much and doesn't take as many pills. And that's who the biggest sponsors on TV are, fast food and pills. So they don't want you fit. They want you fat, stupid, and on pills. So it's never about health. And then I'm like thinking to myself, you guys keep acting like, even on the right or the freedom side, oh my God, this is like, and I'm like, no, they're killing people. Like, you're not a bad person. They're killing grandmas. Like, the amount of grandmas and grandpas with social isolation. When you're elderly, you need to exercise. You need to see people. People are losing hope. People are like, I have nothing to live for. This is happening all over the place. Everybody I know that's slightly unhealthy with comorbidities, their comorbidities are getting worse because they're not able to work out, exercise. And when you go out, you have like a submissive dog face on and your waitress has a face. You can't see her smile. This is not healthy. I don't understand how this just comes naturally because I'm just pissed off. But I'm like, how do you guys not see this? And that's the narrative shift where I still, to be honest, like, I'm sure, people don't agree with it, but I don't really find hate mail or from like liberal people like liberal. They don't even bother me because I'm just saying this stuff. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm not inflammatory, I don't think. And I'm not like, I'm not saying anything that's like stupid or like, oh, I don't wear. I'm like, this is you're killing people. Like, this is not healthy. And it's true. I don't know why so many people on the freedom side either don't say anything or always play defense. You got to flip the script and let them know that it's really, really, really unhealthy. And with the mask, I'm a healthy, like, germaphobe type guy. When you put it on the table and put it on my face, that's disgusting. So I see people fiddling with it, putting it on the thing. It's a dirty napkin that you've been reusing and you're slapping it on your face. Like, I don't want to get sick, so I'm not going to do that. If you got an ice clean mask for me, I still don't want it, but it would make a lot more sense than a super dirty, used on the kitchen table, put it back on your face. Like, I tell them, like, at hotels in Dallas, it was in Houston or in Dallas, Texas, hey, put the mask on. I was like, that's disgusting. Like, you touched your hand. I don't want to do that. And I'm like, this is dehumanizing. I make sure everywhere I go, I like flip the script on them. Like, you can't be having fun doing this 40 hours a week. This is not good.
And that's why, once again, it goes back to they're all submitting with it because they keep getting told it's for their own good, it's for their safety. And if you can give them an example that shows them that it's about control and alter their perception, then you can wake people up really easy without being invasive. It's basically like sneaking in there and getting in behind them. And a perfect example is the government has exempted themselves from all the measures that they tell us we need to employ for our safety. All the freedoms we need to give up and the measures we need to take, they don't have to take. They don't have to isolate or quarantine when they travel. They don't have to wear a mask at work. They haven't lost their jobs. They haven't lost their paycheck, etc. So they have zero skin in the game, but they're telling you how to live and taking away your freedoms and telling you it's for your own good while theirs remain intact. So that conflict of interest right there should be enough to wake people up.
It's disappointing, but it's like it's almost people's fault more than the government, because if you act like an animal and you act like a submissive like loser, like they're going to treat you like one. Where you could catch the governor of California, he's out without a mask at a lobbyist meeting with like pharma lobbyists because he's making that money, that shutdown money, that lockdown money. Like he's not wearing a mask, he's meeting other wealthy people who, and they're talking about how to control you. Like
That's
I'm not
right.
a slave and I'm not an animal, so that takes me off even more. Like I'm nobody's submissive slave. And then you have in America, you know, all this race activism stuff. They're selling Mountain Dew, Taco Bell. And I've been trying to get through to them, like even the hip hop community. You have Eminem rapping about freaking masks. He's like, oh, if you don't wear your mask and cough, you killed me. And I'm like, bro, you went from talking crap about the government to being like a pro-mask guy. Like, I'm just like, this is so not cool. But it's also like, you know, everyone talks about slavery of the past because it's horrible. But this is like a human slavery scheme where you're losing every right that your ancestors fought to get. They didn't fight for the right to be locked down and you not to access a gym. They fought for the right for you to be access any gym that you want and you to go to any school that you want. This is a slave scheme. I call it human slavery. It's not like, oh, slavery. It is a human slave scheme. And I've been trying to get that to catch on because, like, what else is it? Like, you're losing access to everything. They can destroy your business while their business grows. I know I've seen some of the videos of you going off where it's like, yeah, they're consolidating power and they're putting this idea that they're helping you as they take, and one day it will be too late when they control so much. We still have time, but hopefully enough people just put their foot down somewhere. I always say you don't have to start a Facebook page, but if your employer's forcing you to get the vaccine, just give them information. Here's the FDA approval sheet.
And they can't force you. They legally cannot force you. If an employer fires you for refusing the vaccine, they're screwed. All they can do is either reassign you or put you at home with paid leave. So I want everybody to know that because they're sending out all these memos to people from their jobs, trying to convince them that it's basically mandatory to take it because they're getting pressured from the government to do it. And everybody needs to know it's not mandatory. Even if you're a healthcare worker, you don't have to take it. So if you're working in a freaking office building somewhere, you definitely do not have to take the vaccine. Do not let them trick you. And if they get 75% compliance in the vaccine passport will be a reality. And then we are screwed.
In New Jersey at Rutgers University, they're trying to do a mandatory vaccination for students. It's going to come down to lawsuits, but unfortunately in America, I could look it up. We have this vaccine Supreme Court thing. Supreme Court, hold on, I'm going to Google it. It's called Jacobson. They actually have ruled that they can give it to you, which is, in my opinion, super unconstitutional. I'm reading it right now. It's called Jacobson versus Massachusetts from 1905. The Supreme Court in the United States ruled that court can uphold the authority of the states to enforce compulsory vaccination laws. The court's decision articulated that the view of individual liberty is not absolute and is subject to police power of the state. So it's pretty creepy in America. They have ruled that they can do it, and everybody's like, well, it's America, they can. So this is going to go back to the Supreme Court, and this is going to hit the courts. In general, just like, don't do it. You know, like if it's your school, but this is one of those things that here, there's no doubt, I don't know how your court system works, this is going to get to the highest levels, and then we're going to have to watch and see if the Supreme Court rules for us or against us. But, I mean, that's a dark day if they say that you have to get it. But unfortunately, like, our court system's far from perfect, so they could rule against us.
Ours is just as bad. We already have a major lawsuit that's going to be headed to the Supreme Court, challenging the vaccines, the lockdowns, the business closures, virtually everything. So we're attacking them at all angles. But the best way to attack them is the people just basically not complying. If everybody did that, this is over. We get our freedoms. We get our lives back instantaneously. It literally just takes a little bit of balls. Like, not even a lot of balls. Like, how hard is it to take a face diaper off, guys? I'm sorry. It's really not that hard.
When I talk to my friends too, like certain restaurants will try to force you to wear it, and I'm like, I'm not wearing this to walk 5 steps. Like, I'm the type of person
Exactly.
I would starve if I had to, just off of precedence. But we don't even have to starve. Like my friends like, dude, I'm like, bro, we could walk down the street and go to the other restaurant. You know, like it's really that easy. Like, what if we were facing like you were talking about the ancestors? They were so much braver. Like they had everything to lose. I have literally nothing to lose. I'm in a complex with 10 restaurants. So like I don't even feel like a hero, but if you're not willing to take a stand that's this small, I don't like you're the reason that we don't get anything done because one day it's not going to be this easy and you're still going to have to stand up. Like it's mind blowing to me how soft people are. I think that's why it's like it's been such a huge phenomenon of you, especially in Canada where people are even going maybe more submissive than America and just going like hard enough for like an entire province in Canada, you know, hopefully inspiring more people to do the same because it's like, you know, your confidence and just your like no nonsense ability where, you know, the 30 cops thing, it was like a movie where it's like they just keep popping out, but you just didn't care. And it's like, I hope that inspires millions of other people to put their foot down in even a smaller way. They don't have to dodge for 30 cops, but if you keep saying, oh, I'll do it because my boss says it or my mom does it, like these people are never going to stop. It's going to turn into a zombie movie very soon. It already has. It's like Black Mirror at every airport in the world now.
Well, I'm telling you right now, when I made that airport video, and I know for a fact, thousands, if not hundreds, I'm going to say this is a conservative estimate. Hundreds of thousands of travelers have now declined, and I've had thousands and thousands of people say they're going to be going on vacation now because of everything I did. So that was the thing that woke Canadians up, because the mask some people agree with. A forcible confinement that you pay for, 100% of the population is vehemently against, and that was something that's so egregious that they were willing to put their foot down as soon as they were provided the option to do so. And that's what woke them up. And now that they got that little taste of freedom and that little taste of power, it's going to keep going. They're not going to want to give in anymore, and I see it. And then when they announced that new lockdown, I think we're going to see a lot more businesses basically say, "Go fuck yourself" and open up.
What's your last message? I'm gonna take off. It's been a pleasure. We'll chat soon. And I saw you follow me, and I was like, man, we definitely got to kick it. So I'm glad that you came on here. What's your last message? I just
The last message is everybody make a hashtag just say no wall post, hashtag just say no in the caption, and if you want, make it a story post, tag at Real Chris Sky. I'll post it on my wall and I'll follow you back. Because we're going to get this going. We got to get millions of people around the world literally just saying no. It's that easy. And when we do that, we've won.
Yeah.
It's that simple, guys.
And it's a good time now where it's like even amongst the pandemic and they've done a lot, like we're still very fortunate as far as our ancestors. Like it's not that bad. But
it's going to be.
It will be, absolutely. And now it's like after a year and almost, I guess, over a year now, do people still not get it? Like, you can't like a lockdown. I remember I was talking to somebody in Europe or forget where they were, and I was like, they're more like left wing, and they're like, oh, it's okay. The lockdown's not a big deal. And now it's like a year later. I'm like, do you still think it's not a big? I don't know. You can't possibly enjoy this. It reminds me of like, I don't know. It's just like you're not enjoying yourself with the two masks.
To me, it was when I was in Belgium and they had mandatory masks even outside. I was literally you've seen people pushing strollers with masks on themselves and the baby, people riding bicycles. I literally felt like I was in an alien invasion movie, like Body Snatchers, and everybody else had already been taken and I was the only one left.
Have you seen the Truman Show? Have you seen the Truman Show?
Of course, yeah.
It's starting to feel like that where I'm like, yeah, no one's forcing you to even do this. Maybe in Belgium, but like I know places out here where no one cares if you don't do it outside, but still it's almost growing. Like it should be getting lesser, but I see the masks growing, and I'm in more a conservative area of California, so like people don't care. But I'm like I can't even fathom when people are doing it to themselves. It's one thing to do it when you have to go in somewhere. It's a whole nother thing to like do it to yourself. When
I like the people driving in the car by themselves with the mask on. They're my favorite people.
I don't get it. I hate doing it on a plane or something when they try. It's like it doesn't feel good. It's not easy to breathe. It's not enjoyable. I don't understand the dynamic of that. But like maybe that's another segment. Is like just go around and interview. Like, how do you feel? I feel pretty good. Like, you enjoy that mask? That's okay. I'm like, yeah, but do you like it though? I mean, yeah, not really. Or like, I'm just like, I'm trying to get to the psychology of like, what the f you're doing, bro? Because you're weirding me out, and the fact that there's so many people like you, you're making it feel like, a zombie movie.
That's exactly what it feels like. Walking Dead in reality.
Man, I'm gonna take off and I'm gonna upload this on my YouTube channel, and then I'll give you the link or whatever. But any where people could find you for when I post it up there.
I'm at Real Chris Sky on Insta, Real Chris Sky on Telegram, all capital letters. Otherwise, it doesn't come up for some reason. Chris Sky on Facebook, Chris Sky on Twitter. Pretty easy, man.
All right, well, it was a pleasure talking to you. And now, whenever this all blows over, when I come to Canada, I'll expect to see you, and I'll also expect to see a visit from the feds because
I might be in the States next month. I got invited by Alex Jones, so.
Oh shit, he's flying you out to what, Austin?
Yeah.
I maybe I'll try to go because his one guy Owen Schreier, we've been talking shit about basketball. I keep saying I can beat him because I can, and Alex is like, "Yo, we'll have a party, whatever. We'll do basketball." Like he said, one thing.
Bro, we should arrange same time. When I find out when I'm going, I'm gonna let you know. That would be amazing.
I'm trying to play basketball. No, they're definitely gonna be spying on us. They're like, dude, Alex, Anomaly, Chris Sky playing basketball. They're like, yo, they're gonna have their. That's too good. All right, let me know. We'll get up.
I'm down, bro. We gotta do another live anytime, bro. I love it.
Definitely. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Have a good night, man. Good night, everybody.
You as well.